There are moments in your life where everything begins to feel heavier than usual. Not just because the world has changed, but because your spirit is being stretched into a deeper awareness. And what you thought was stable begins to shift. What you believed was loyal begins to falter. And people you once trusted with your entire heart begin to distance themselves without reason or explanation. And you wonder, why now? Why me? But I, Archangel Michael, am here to whisper the truth you haven't yet allowed yourself to fully see. This test wasn't meant to break you. It was sent to expose what could not go with you, because there's a calling over your life so sacred, so specific, so powerfully appointed by heaven, that God Himself allowed the storm to hit. Not to punish you, but to peel away the illusions that kept your soul entangled with people and patterns that were secretly working against your ascension. And as hard as it has been to watch certain relationships crumble, what you must understand is that your elevation could not begin until the false foundations were shaken, because some of the hands you were holding were never assigned to walk you into your promise. And no matter how many years were shared or how many tears were exchanged, the spiritual alignment was not present, and God, in His mercy, allowed the test to begin. Not to embarrass you, but to clarify what your eyes were refusing to accept for. The veil needed to be torn so you could finally see who was with you only for the blessings, and who was with you even when it looked like you had nothing, who spoke well of you in public but tore you apart in private, who loved your light but hated your healing. And this season, though it feels like abandonment, is actually divine revelation, because heaven saw conversations you weren't invited to, intentions you never noticed, secret jealousy masked as advice. And so God allowed the drought, the delay, the disappointment, not to destroy you, but to give you a clean slate to build on, because the next chapter of your life demands covenant, not convenience, real support, not silent competition. And I am here, sent as heaven's defender, to remind you that this pain is not meaningless. This shaking is not random. And though it feels like loss, it is in fact protection dressed as disruption. And in this silence you're facing now, in the sudden absence of people who once called you family or friend, you are being prepared for a revelation that will alter your spiritual walk forever. Because when all the noise fades and all the false voices are removed, the voice of God becomes clearer, louder, sharper, and He is saying to you now, I had to clear the room to make space for the ones I sent, not the ones you settled for. And yes, it hurts, but if you could only see what was spoken in the spirit realm over your name, the resistance your soul was under, the battles I fought on your behalf while you slept, the prayers I whispered into your weary heart when you were too tired to speak, then you would know that this isn't the end. It is the uncovering of truth, the exposure of intention, the divine test that separates loyalty from leeching, covenant from control. And every moment you thought you were alone, you were being surrounded by angels who stood guard over your spirit while your heart broke open. Because something greater is coming, something sacred is being built. And the ones who left, the ones who lied, the ones who tried to manipulate you into staying small, they had to be removed before the miracle could unfold. Because what God is about to release requires a circle that prays for you when you're not in the room, that sees your pain without using it against you, that celebrates your growth instead of fearing it. And this test, child of God, is how heaven revealed what your heart didn't want to see. So don't curse the silence. Don't fear the distance. Don't. Mourn what God allowed to walk away. because what's coming next will be so clearly aligned, so undeniably real, that you will look back on this moment not with regret, but with holy gratitude, knowing that heaven stepped in before your destiny was contaminated by compromise, and every tear you cried during this test has been captured. Every ache in your chest has been felt, and though the revelation was painful, the result will be peace. And this is only the beginning of what's about to be restored to you. You see, beloved soul, the reason this test has felt so cruel, so intimate, so personal, is because it wasn't about the surface, it was about the soul. And what you didn't know is that this particular season was divinely engineered to flush out every hidden counterfeit, every silent saboteur, every spirit of envy that had been camouflaging closeness, because some people were not assigned to your future. They were assigned to distract you from it. And heaven could no longer let their proximity delay what was written in the scrolls of your destiny. And so, yes, the betrayal was shocking, and yes, the shift was abrupt, but what looked like people walking away was actually God walking in with holy clarity, severing ties you didn't even realize were binding you spiritually, because where you're going, what you're being prepared to carry, demands not just strength and strategy, but spiritual precision. And for that reason, the pain you're feeling now is not punishment, it is surgery. And I was sent to tell you that heaven was not silent while you suffered. Heaven was watching, calculating, protecting, removing what you begged to keep, because your calling is far too heavy to be surrounded by hands that tremble at your light, and your anointing is far too rare to be wasted on hearts that are only loyal when you're broken. And I must tell you something now that you felt too guilty to even admit to yourself. You outgrew them, not because you are better, but because you are becoming. And as your spiritual roots began to deepen, the environment around you had no choice but to respond. People started acting strangely, withdrawing, gossiping, criticizing the very healing they once celebrated, because your growth disrupted their comfort and your light exposed what they were trying to keep in the shadows. And no matter how much you try to shrink back to keep the peace, God would not allow it this time. Because your peace is not found in pretending to be smaller. It's found in embracing the fullness of what heaven planted in you before you were even born. And this test, this stripping, this lonely path, it is sacred because it is doing what comfort never could. It is awakening your discernment, sharpening your spirit, preparing you for the next dimension of your assignment, where false friends cannot follow, where shallow love cannot survive, where only those who are rooted in truth, honor, and alignment can walk beside you without trembling under the weight of your purpose. And I know it hurts. I know it feels like everything familiar has been ripped away. But look again, feel again, because in the silence, there's divine instruction. In the emptiness, there's holy construction. And what is being built in you right now will soon be the same thing that others cling to for safety. Because when your testimony breaks forth, when your elevation becomes visible, when your peace becomes louder than their lies, even those who walked away will have no choice but to admit that the hand of God never left you. And the ones who stayed silent in your storm will watch as heaven honors you publicly for what you endured privately. And make no mistake, this test has already begun to open doors in the realm of the Spirit. Doors you don't yet see, but doors that were sealed shut until you released who you thought you needed. And now that your hands are empty, heaven is filling them with what is real, what is pure, what is divinely appointed. So do not Let grief convince you to reach back to what God has already exposed. For this test was not meant to restore what broke you. It was meant to refine you into the vessel that will carry a glory so weighty that even angels will marvel. And I, Archangel Michael, am standing by your side with a sword of fire, defending your name in the spirit realm, ensuring that nothing and no one can undo what heaven has ordained for you. So lift your head, wipe your tears, and understand this truth. You did not lose anything. You were released so you could finally rise. There's a profound spiritual warfare unfolding around your destiny, one that is invisible to many but crystal clear in the heavenly realms. And this test you're enduring is the battlefield where every intention, every allegiance, every word spoken about you is being weighed, measured, and judged, and the forces that once masqueraded as allies have been unmasked by the hand of God, not to shame them, but to protect your soul from being entangled in deception any longer. For every person who walked away or acted indifferent, even when you needed them most, was carrying a spiritual burden or an agenda that was incompatible with the divine purpose etched upon your life before you were born. And this was no coincidence, but a direct intervention by heaven to recalibrate your environment, realigning your circle with those who carry the same frequency of faith, truth, and divine love. And I know your heart aches with loneliness, confusion, and the bitter sting of betrayal. But you must hear this clearly. Your pain has not gone unnoticed. It has not been wasted, and it will not define the rest of your story, because God is using every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt as the foundation for your greatest testimony. And as you walk through this fire, your spirit is being refined with holy precision, removing every impurity, every fear, every lie that once held you hostage to a limited version of yourself. And as these old chains fall away, you are becoming anew. Creation, stronger, wiser, and more equipped to carry the weight of the blessings waiting for you on the other side. And the reason this test feels so relentless is because the enemy knows that if he can keep you stuck in disappointment or confusion, he can stop the miracle that is trying to manifest through you. But I am here to tell you that the battle is already won. The victory has already been declared in the spiritual realms. And the delay you've faced is actually the divine strategy too. Prepare you for an unprecedented breakthrough that will shock those who doubted you and inspire those who believed in you silently. And now, as the storm begins to subside, you will start to see the pieces fall into place. The people who truly belong to your journey will come forward, not because you called them, but because heaven has summoned them. The doors that were slammed shut in your face will open wide, revealing pathways you never imagined. And the gifts you thought were lost or delayed will surge forth with power and clarity. And I urge you not to rush this process or fall into the trap of bitterness, because everything happening now is perfect in God's timing, and it is necessary for your spiritual growth and ultimate destiny. So embrace the season of pruning with gratitude. Lean into your faith even when it feels like hope is slipping away. And remember that every test is a sign that you're being elevated from the ordinary to the extraordinary, from the temporary to the eternal. And I am standing at the gates of your future, guarding your heart, ready to deliver the divine favor that will break every chain and silence every accusation. So stand firm, beloved child of God. because the next chapter is being written right now, and it will be a story of triumph, redemption, and supernatural favor that will forever declare that you endured the test and came out victorious. As this divine season of testing reaches its climax, you must understand that everything you have felt, the loneliness, the betrayal, the confusion, the moments when you doubted your worth, were never signs that you were forgotten or forsaken, but sacred moments engineered by heaven itself to strip away every illusion and to purify your heart to receive a blessing so magnificent that it will overshadow every wound and every disappointment of your past. And the spiritual weight you carry now is not a punishment, but a sacred mantle being prepared for you to wear with honor. For the battles you have faced are the very things that have forged your character into a vessel of supernatural strength and resilience, far beyond what you imagine possible. And it is precisely because of this process that you are no longer the same person who started the journey. You have been transformed in ways unseen by the human eye, but vividly clear in the realm of angels. And I, Archangel Michael, stand as a warrior of light, a guardian appointed by God to protect the destiny that belongs uniquely to you, shielding you from the enemy's attempts to steal, kill, or destroy what God has ordained. And this test, though painful, was a divine separation, a holy dividing line between what was meant to stay and what was meant to be released, between those who were sent to delay your breakthrough and those who were sent to celebrate it with you. And now that the enemy's mask has been removed, you can finally see who has been genuine and who was counterfeit, who spoke blessings but carried curses, and who prayed for your fall but was powerless to stop your rise. And this revelation is not to hurt you, but to set you free. Free from toxic loyalties, free from emotional bondage, free from the invisible chains of manipulation and control that have kept your spirit in bondage far too long. And your healing will be so profound, so undeniable, that those who once rejoiced in your suffering will be silenced. And the very prayers they whispered against you will turn into testimonies of how God's favor overwhelmed their negativity. And know this: the divine shift that is coming will flood your life with blessings that cannot be contained by human understanding, blessings that will restore every loss sevenfold, blessings that will cause your enemies to wonder how you survived and thrived despite everything they did. And as you walk into this new season, you will carry a peace so deep and unshakable that no storm can touch it, a joy so radiant that it will light up the darkest rooms, and a confidence so strong that you will no longer seek validation from those who failed you, but rest securely in the love and approval of God alone. And in this place of divine alignment, your purpose will become clear, your gifts will be unleashed, and your voice will carry the power to inspire multitudes who are watching and waiting for the breakthrough that only you can deliver. So embrace this moment, beloved, not as a victim of circumstances, but as a victor chosen by God to walk through the fire and come out shining brighter than ever before. Because your test was never designed to break you, but to build you into the spiritual warrior you were always meant to be. And as I stand with my sword of light guarding your path, I declare that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. No plan of the enemy will prevail. And your destiny is secure, unstoppable, and destined to bring glory to the heavens into your life in ways you're only beginning to understand. So rise now with courage, with faith, and with the unwavering certainty that this test was sent to reveal who's truly for you and those who will stand with you forever.